You're watching KSG News, where you get all the latest updates from across the globe for your exam preparations. On to GS Paper 3, this relates to space technology. NASA's Perseverance rover will be attempting to land on Mars's Jezero crater later tonight. It will be 19th February 2021 at 2:25 a.m. IST when the rover lands on the red planet. All eyes will be on the historic landing, as it has been touted as the most difficult landing ever attempted on Mars. The engineers managing the mission from the ground at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California have said that the landing will be 7 minutes of terror. The Perseverance rover lifted off from Kennedy Space Center on the 30th of July 2020. It took the spacecraft more than 6 months to reach Mars's orbit. This period was chosen to take advantage of the proximity between the two planets, which opens every 2 years. After landing on Mars, the rover will stay there for 1 Mars year, that is equal to 687 days on Earth. The difficulty level was the main reason why no such landing was attempted by anyone before. The 45-kilometer wide crater is filled with steep cliffs, sand dunes, and boulder fields. Scientists believe that it was home to an ancient river. The spacecraft will enter Mars's atmosphere at nearly 20,000 kilometers per hour, which will lead to temperatures soaring up to 1,300 degrees Celsius. Under extreme temperatures, the aeroshell will keep the rover safe and at room temperature. Once the parachute is out, after 20 seconds, the radar equipped with terrain relative navigation technology will come into play in finding a safe landing spot. Finally, the retro rockets will fly the rover to the landing site. It will be followed by getting lowered to the ground using cables. This time around, there is an Ingenuity Mars helicopter on board too, which will collect samples from places where the rover could not reach. The helicopter is dependent on the Perseverance rover for landing on Mars, as it will be attached to its belly. It has been made and tested to fly in harsh temperatures of the Mars, which has just 1% of Earth's atmosphere density. When the mission begins and the rover explores the surface of Jezero crater, it will collect rock samples to bring back to Earth and search for any signs of ancient microbial life on the planet. These samples will also help scientists understand the planet's geology and past climate. First, updates related to GS Paper 3. This is in connection with energy. Indian Oil has signed a preliminary agreement with Norway's Greenstat to set up a Center of Excellence on Hydrogen. The Center of Excellence on Hydrogen will be a vehicle for promoting R&D projects in green and blue hydrogen between Norwegian and Indian R&D institutions or universities. The center will facilitate transfer and sharing of technology, know-how, and experience through the green hydrogen value chain and other relevant technologies, including hydrogen storage and fuel cells. The institute will also act as a think tank towards developing codes and standards for best industrial practices, safety, product protocols, and regulation in the area of hydrogen and fuel cells. The partnership between Indian Oil and Greenstat will assist stakeholders in developing business models, besides offering consultancies to industry, utilities, and regulators on hydrogen storage, hydrogen production, refueling stations, fuel cells, and carbon capture technologies. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, in a budget speech, said that the government plans to set up a national hydrogen mission. Shifting focus to GS Paper 2, this is in connection with international relations. Sri Lanka will reacquire the World War-era oil tanks in the eastern city of Trincomalee that were leased out to an Indian Oil Corporation subsidiary in 2003. Sri Lanka's Minister of Energy, Udaya Gamanpilla, has said that Sri Lanka will reacquire the World War-era oil tanks in the eastern city of Trincomalee that were leased out to an Indian Oil Corporation subsidiary in 2003. The Indian side has agreed to leave aside the terms negotiated by the former Maithripala Sirisena Ranil Wickremesinghe administration in 2017. Now, what is this all about? In 2003, Sri Lanka leased out the oil tank farm to India for the upgradation and commissioning of 99 tanks in it in a 35-year period. The project did not proceed as was envisaged. Over a decade later, the two countries renewed discussions during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Sri Lanka in 2015 and got closer to a roadmap in 2017 that included a joint venture to execute the project, but could not finalize the deal amid protests from oil workers' unions. The harbour in Trincomalee is considered one of the finest deep-sea natural harbours in a strategically coveted spot on Sri Lanka's northeastern coast. India and Sri Lanka have identified the energy partnership as one of the priority dimensions of their cooperation, and that India was committed to working together with Sri Lanka for the island's energy security. In this context, consultation and discussions have been undertaken to promote mutually beneficial cooperation for development and operation of the upper oil tank farms in Trincomalee. Shifting focus to GS Paper 3, this is in connection with disease. The United Nations Children's Agency launched an initiative on the 16th of February 2021 to get airlines give priority to delivering coronavirus vaccines, medicine and other critical supplies to respond to the global pandemic. UNICEF said that more than 15 airlines have signed agreements to support the priority delivery of pandemic-related materials. Now, what is the significance of this? Delivery of this life-saving vaccines is a monumental and complex undertaking, considering the sheer volumes that need to be transported, the cold chain requirements, the number of expected deliveries, and the diversity of routes. UNICEF said its humanitarian air freight initiative brings together airlines covering routes to over 100 countries in support of the UN's unprecedented COVAX program to buy and deliver coronavirus vaccines for hundreds of millions of the world's poorest population. Based on COVAX's initial first-round allocation plan, UNICEF said 145 countries will receive doses to immunize around 3% of their populations on average starting in the first half of 2021, subject to all requirements being met and final allocation plans. In addition to prioritizing COVID-19 related shipments, UNICEF said the airlines will take measures including ensuring temperature control and security as well as adding freight capacity to routes when needed. It identified airlines that signed the agreement so far as Air British Cargo, Air France KLM, Astral Aviation, Brussels Airlines, Cargolux, Cathay Pacific, Emirates Sky Cargo, Ethiopian Airlines, Etihad Airways, IAG Cargo, Korean Air, Lufthansa Cargo, Qatar Airways, Saudia, Singapore Airlines and United Airlines. That's it from our side in this video. Stay tuned to KSG News for more such updates for your exam preparations.